Everybody, welcome and thanks for joining us today on this edition of Tips from TTO, presented by theREP. We hope you're enjoying Tips from TTO, so make sure if you want more information about what's going on, follow us on Facebook, follow TTO on Facebook. We also have our LinkedIn pages with all kinds of business information. So make sure you check us out on all our social pages. We appreciate that very much, and thank you for following theREP. As always, we have Megan Wallender, accounting and payroll specialist from the tax office, because they're more than a tax office. And we are discussing today the latest blog from TTO, addressing the challenges facing micro and small business, yeah?
Yes. We are here to talk about the first challenge in the blog, and that is wearing too many hats.
How can you wear too many hats?
Oh, it's real easy as a business owner.
So, the first point we want to make with this, when you're wearing too many hats, is it difficult trusting other people with your dream?
I think that's the number one difficulty business owners have, is you go into business because you have a passion, you have a drive to do whatever it is that you're putting your heart and soul into, and then you have Mary over here that you've hired, and you want them to succeed, but it's hard to let that go. And so,
right.
You give one hat or 1.5 hats, and you're wearing the rest. So yeah, it's tough.
So your experience with dealing with micro and small business, with the tax office, where do you see those things, and how willing sometimes are people to listen?
I think the biggest challenge that we see with some of our clients is that, when they hire someone, they give over the responsibilities, and then they're quick to take them back when they don't see the result that they want, rather than, okay, we have to step back. Training, coaching, and developing
Right.
It's a huge piece of that puzzle, and that will help allow you to relinquish some of those responsibilities to your team.
So, coming to understand that you can't do everything by yourself,
No,
I
you
think
can't.
really takes that next step into that phase of hiring somebody, that I got to take this hat off and hand it to somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think allowing yourself to, people are going to make mistakes. No one's going to do it right their first time, and that continued coaching and developing. And then once you relinquish that trust, you have to not take it back. You have to give it to them and allow them to make that mistake, coach and develop, and continue that process. So,
But within that scope, though, one of the things that I think is a failure, and in a lot of small businesses, not having that infrastructure in place to be prepared to train somebody how to do their job.
Yes, I think some small businesses, micro businesses, they hire someone with no foundation for, a human resources type aspect, or a handbook, or what's the expectation of that person that I'm bringing on. So then that creates miscommunication.
Yeah.
The team member gets frustrated, the employer gets frustrated, and then you have turnover, and turnover is one of the most costly expenses you can have as a business owner. And
so that getting that information and having those things in place when it's time to hire somebody is huge.
It is. I think that's the biggest, the number one thing that I would stress with any employer who's getting ready to hire someone. Reach out to, study, find out what you need to have in place before you bring that team member on, and have a clear expectation of what you expect from that employee when you bring them on, so that there's no miscommunication.
And that should be something, as we're talking about these things, when you're discussing, when you're going into business, this should be part of your business plan.
It should be part of your business plan. When are you going to hire? Is it going to be a month out? Is 6 months out? And start putting those practices in place. And I think that you can put those practices in place within yourself. What's expected of you? What are you going to do 3 months into it, 6 months into it? So when you do hire that person on, you don't feel the need to do everything yourself, and then that team member saying, well, what am I supposed to do?
Right, because there goes to the next thought process there with an employee. What's my job description?
What's my job description? They want to feel part of the team. So with my experiences, I've managed teams of 5. I've managed teams of 45. typically when somebody is hired on, they want to feel part of the team. They want to feel part of the process, and not necessarily part of the decision, but sometimes part of the decision process. It makes them, you're more willing, or a team member is more willing to get on board if they're part of the process and part of, the everyday operation. So, excluding them from those pieces of the puzzle, you're going to see that turnover, and you won't have the buy-in. You want that buy-in with your team. Right.
Because regardless of, your hiring practices, once you get the employee into your business, there's certain expectations that come along with that.
And consistency is huge. You can't, be a yo-yo one day. This is the expectation one day. Consistency is going to be huge. And especially, we talk about this particular generation, the millennial generation.
Yeah.
They expect consistency and they need consistency. In the latter years of the service industry, I did figure that out because I have a tendency to be kind of, ping, ping, ping. I had to, within myself, find that consistency to be able to manage this particular generation. So I do urge you to be consistent as a business owner.
And I have always said this for a long time coming to this. I'm going to say this because I believe, and this is something I've said throughout my career, consistency breeds success.
Absolutely. It builds teams. It builds a buy-in. The expectation every day. They know what's expected of them, and you will get longevity from your team. You will not see that consistent turnover. And like I said, turnover is a huge expense when it comes to hiring somebody and the time it takes to hire somebody. If you've got somebody who's a long-term team member versus, a month here, a month here, a month here, you're wasting a lot of money, and business owners don't have the money to waste.
And time.
and time. Time is...
Because you're the one training.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the last thing I want you to talk with us about here is your experience in building teams, managing team members, managing management.
Yes.
Because you've done both, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the things you've learned over your career in dealing with these types of things?
I think the first big one is don't hire out of desperation. Don't hire somebody just to fill a spot. You can wear those hats for a little while to get the right person in there, because that breeds success. You don't want that turnover. So I think the biggest thing that I learned is don't hire out of desperation. The second is spend time with your team. Get to know them. Let them get to know you. I know that's something that I struggled with is I had to be you have to be professional and you have to be the boss. It's okay to let your personality shine, to let them know that you're a human too. You're going to make mistakes. You're a person. You're going to make mistakes. It's a team. You're part of the team. Yes, you are the boss. You set the expectation. However, you're part of that team. You're there to help them be successful as well. The better they are, the better you are.
And I think that goes to setting the expectation and understanding that I'm going to hold myself accountable to that same expectation.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think that's huge. And that is actually something that, dealing with managing managers, really, I say driving that into their foundation as a manager is the better they are, the better you are. So if your team around you is not developed, you will not be developed.
Sure.
So making yourself part of that team, again, you are the boss, but inserting yourself, get to know your team. Let them know that you have their back so that they will have your back. Loyalty.
And there you go. I think that's a great thing. And we don't talk much about loyalty because, in the professional world, a lot of people spend through their career growing the 3 to 5 years. That's a big part of it.
It's huge.
And that's fine. However you want to go about your career.
Absolutely.
I think that should be, you do that. But when you're there with the company, whether it's 3, whether it's 5, whether it's 10 years, give yourself to that.
Absolutely.
Let that be that thought process and work in that capacity. If you're gone, if you've reached your pinnacle in that place and you don't feel you can grow anymore and you want to go somewhere else, I think that's fine too.
That is okay. I think that has a stigma on it in the sense if I leave a job, this and that. I'm not a firm believer on, job hopping every 3 months by any means whatsoever. But, there are places where you can go and you've hit that 5-6 mark. And I think I've gotten everything I need out of this. I'm going to start searching for something that's going to challenge me more. I know that when I left, I worked for Bob Evans. It was a breakfast industry, 3-meal period. that 12-year mark, I said, I want to get more into the night business and the bar service, everything. It was a different skill level that I didn't possess. So that's okay. It's okay to broaden your
horizons.
Knowledge. Yeah, absolutely.
Your knowledge base,
right.
Your ability to manage people. What's that next step for me?
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that's very important for people to understand. But as somebody who's in charge of people, you understand that. Are you challenging your staff to grow that way?
Absolutely, because they will challenge you. They will challenge you every day to be better at what you do. So are you challenging your team to be the best that they can be? And building teams, I think as a business owner, if you want to grow and you want a team, you have to, you got to build your teams. You have to support them, be there for them, and set that clear expectation. Expectation.
Yeah, don't be afraid to accept that challenge.
Absolutely not.
As a business owner, as a manager, as somebody in that place, that executive position, don't be afraid to be challenged either.
Right, exactly. And that was hard for me when my team really, when my teams would start looking at me and go, Megan, I don't think that's right. What are you talking about? I know what's right. I'm the boss. Of course it's right. And then we would check it. Oh, you're right. That's not right. And that, for me, it was a step back. But I'm like, wow, my team knows. That's what their job is to know. An
expectation level that is set. So really what you did is you set that expectation level. Your team members were there working with you in that, understanding what needed to be done. So don't be afraid to be challenged.
Absolutely not.
That doesn't mean you're a horrible, awful boss. That just means, let's take a look at this together and come to that place where we all are working and going in the same direction. Right.
And I think as another tidbit with a business owner, because it is your baby, because it is your business, it can set you back when, a team member comes up against you. But it's okay. They're learning. You want them to know the business.
Don't get upset.
Exactly. You don't have to wear all the hats when your team is running on all 4 cylinders.
Yeah.
It is.
Hopefully 8.
8, 4, 6,
power,
hopefully
baby.
12,
you
get to sit back and enjoy the ride and go, oh, wow, this is awesome. So don't be afraid of that.
Yeah. Megan, as always, thanks for bringing this information to us. And check out the blog. It's on thetaxoffice.com. Go read the blog. It's very good. There are some great tips for everyone to use here. But if you find yourself overwhelmed by all this information, like I said, go to the tax office on Facebook. That you can follow them at the tax office and check them out on the web. Some great information there. We're going to be adding more to the website.
Yes.
And we're going to get to a resource page and have resources. So we're going to be talking more about those stuff.
Lots of new stuff coming on the newly designed website. It's really pretty, so check it out.
Newly designed. Ooh. It's like having a new car.
It is.
The new car smell. All right. Well, we hope you've learned something today. And remember, since 1984,
we're more than a tax office.
There you go. So you folks have a great day.